Picture a cruise ship. Now imagine lifting it nearly 200 meters into the sky and balancing it across three separate skyscrapers. It sounds impossible, yet that's exactly what engineers accomplished in Singapore. Every day, thousands of people swim in an infinity pool suspended 57 stories above the ground, rarely realizing they're standing on one of the most ambitious engineering projects ever attempted. From unstable reclaimed land to a rooftop structure weighing thousands of tons, Marina Bay Sands pushed architecture and engineering far beyond what most experts thought was practical. So how did this incredible building go from an ambitious sketch to one of the world's most recognizable landmarks? Let's find out. Long before the famous skyline existed, this part of Singapore looked completely different. Much of Marina Bay simply wasn't there. Over several decades, Singapore expanded its coastline through massive land reclamation projects, creating valuable new space for future development. The country's leaders had a bold vision: transform Singapore into one of Asia's premier destinations for tourism, business, and entertainment. To make that vision a reality, the government launched an international competition to build an integrated resort unlike anything the world had seen. The winning proposal came from Las Vegas Sands, with architect Moshe Safdie designing a building that immediately stood apart. Instead of another rectangular hotel tower, he imagined three elegant skyscrapers connected by what looked like a giant ship floating above the city. It was beautiful, it was unforgettable, and it looked incredibly difficult to build. The original budget was already enormous, but as construction progressed, costs climbed to well over $5 billion, making it one of the most expensive standalone casino resorts ever constructed. But the rising price tag wasn't the biggest concern. The real challenge was hidden beneath everyone's feet. The ground underneath Marina Bay wasn't solid rock. It was reclaimed land made from sand placed over layers of soft marine clay. For ordinary buildings, that might already be challenging. For three 55-story towers carrying thousands of guests every day, it was an engineering nightmare. If the foundation settled unevenly, even by a few centimeters, enormous stresses could spread throughout the entire structure. Engineers couldn't simply pour concrete and hope for the best. Instead, they drove hundreds of deep foundation piles through the weaker soil until they reached much stronger layers capable of supporting the immense weight above. Even after construction began, sophisticated monitoring systems constantly measured tiny movements underground. Every shift mattered. Because when you're building something this complex, small changes below can become very large problems above. And that led to another unexpected obstacle. Most people imagine skyscrapers as perfectly rigid. They're not. Every tall building moves. Wind pushes them. Heat causes steel to expand. Concrete slowly changes over time. Normally, that isn't a problem because each building moves as one structure. Marina Bay Sands was completely different. Instead of one tower, engineers had three independent towers standing side by side. Each reacted differently to changing conditions. One tower could move slightly, while another barely moved at all. That might not sound dramatic, but now imagine trying to connect those moving towers with a single rooftop structure stretching hundreds of meters across the sky. Suddenly, everything became much more complicated. Computer simulations ran constantly, predicting how each tower would behave under different weather conditions and loads. The design had to accommodate movement without creating dangerous stresses. In other words, the rooftop couldn't simply lock the towers together. It had to move with them, and that's where the project became truly extraordinary. Sitting above the towers is the SkyPark, one of the most recognizable rooftop structures ever built. It stretches roughly 340 meters from end to end, making it even longer than the height of the Eiffel Tower. Instead of building it in one enormous piece, engineers fabricated massive steel sections, transported them individually, and carefully lifted them into place high above the city. Each lift demanded remarkable precision. Strong winds could delay operations. Tiny positioning errors could create enormous alignment problems. Adding to the complexity, One end of the Sky Park extends dramatically beyond the supporting tower, creating a huge cantilever that appears to float in midair. It looks almost impossible. But hidden inside the structure are powerful steel trusses distributing weight throughout the entire system. Expansion joints allow the Sky Park to adjust as the towers naturally move throughout the day. Visitors rarely notice any of this. They simply admire the view. But another engineering masterpiece, it's just a few steps away. The infinity pool has become one of the most photographed swimming pools on Earth. From the water, it almost feels as though you're swimming directly into Singapore's skyline. The illusion is breathtaking. The engineering is even more impressive. The pool contains more than 1 million liters of water. That's an enormous amount of weight concentrated high above the ground. When dozens of guests enter the water, the load changes again. Engineers designed an intricate support system capable of handling these constantly shifting forces. The famous disappearing edge is another clever piece of engineering. The water doesn't actually spill over the side of the building. Instead, it flows into a hidden collection basin below, where it's filtered and pumped back into the main pool. The dramatic visual effect is carefully controlled. Visitors experience an endless horizon. Engineers see an incredibly sophisticated water management system working exactly as designed. And even after construction finished, the work was far from over. When Marina Bay Sands officially opened in 2010, it immediately transformed Singapore's skyline. Within a short time, it became one of the country's biggest tourist attractions, welcoming millions of visitors from around the world. The resort includes luxury hotels, a massive convention center, shopping malls, theaters, restaurants, museums, and one of Asia's most famous casinos. International conferences, concerts, sporting events, and cultural celebrations now take place beneath the same rooftop that once seemed impossible to build. But maintaining such a complex structure is an ongoing task. Singapore's tropical climate brings intense heat, heavy rain, humidity, and frequent storms. Engineers continuously monitor structural movement,